In today's video, new driver signings are made in this My Team career mode. We're picking a brand new engine supplier, and there are some big changes in the driver and team market. We're now going into our 4th season in this F1 25 My Team career mode, and Aarava Archer Racing has achieved its main objective: to win the Constructors' Championship, to get one of our drivers the World Championship as well, and that was the young superstar German Tim Tramnitz. But now, as ever in Formula 1, you very quickly start to shift focus to the next season, to the next challenge. And that started a long time ago in the middle of Season 3 as we continued our potential pursuit of Andrea Kimi Antonelli. But whilst we were eyeing up the young Italian, well, it was actually Charles Leclerc as an option that came up in discussion. The reigning champ at the time, frustrated at McLaren, and I decided around the Canadian Grand Prix to open up a dialogue.
I've reached out with a very early preliminary inquiry to their side. I'll let you know how it goes. Hard to get a read on it at the moment. These things are always fluid and move quickly, but if they're interested in us, I'm sure things will move a bit quicker.
So at this stage, we had 4 driver dialogues open: Ollie Behrman, Tim Tramnitz, Antonelli, and Charles Leclerc. But as those 46 days till the contract window went down, the landscape of our driver talks changed dramatically.
Team feel we now have enough info following our talks with possible drivers that we can now start negotiating contracts. Drivers who we've had at least an early meeting with may now be receptive to discussing a contract. Time to get things ready for next season.
Some of you might remember in the middle of last season, Yuki Tsunoda approached us about the possibility of joining our team. And whilst that was occurring, I was sacking off talks with Antonelli, and I tried to pursue Oscar Piastri, but I got given the cold shoulder. We were told he had signed elsewhere almost immediately, which really put a damper in my big game plan. Remember, this was at the halfway point in the season, so it was still very open of who was maybe going to win our championship. It could have been Behrman still. Tramnitz was leading, but I was just thinking about the best driver lineup possible, and I was honestly thinking about a Leclerc-Piastri insane partnership, but Piastri was locked down either to Red Bull or he'd signed for a rival already. And at this point then, it became pretty clear. I could give our F3 driver icon the biggest confidence boost by offering him a contract early in the season, taking the pressure off and allowing him to then go on to win that first World Championship. And I could focus all my pursuits in Charles Leclerc. So that's what we did, and thankfully after 3 rounds of talks we were able to agree on a contract. He accepted it the first time, so just showing maybe his desperation to find a better car. The McLaren may have ended season 3 on a high, but was so inconsistent, and that's no way for a reigning champion to go on to maybe do further great things. So now we have 2 champions in our team: the new reigning champion and the one that was just before him. And with that massive bit of the jigsaw puzzle completed, then we can transition from season 3 into season 4. We can tot up all the money we've earned with the, prize pool, the sponsor payments. We're also getting some new accolades on for passive income as well. We're well into fan rating level 7 and working our way to fan rating 8. We didn't break the bank. We didn't, cause the FIA any reason to doubt us. We were well under the cost cap here. And this is a pretty nice page to load into. Constructors Champions as Aarava Archer Racing here in Season 3. Tramnitz and Behrman. This partnership for me will always be remembered in this team's history. But that was then. This is now as we move into 2028. And this is the brand new calendar. We have a few changes at the start of the season, especially. Australia is still the opening round, but now no longer do we go to Suzuka. We're going straight into Bahrain to Saudi Arabia, and then having an early US GP as the Miami Grand Prix return. And I'm sure that's going to bring plenty of chaos, as it has done in real life. And we're also bringing back the Monaco Grand Prix. Remember, with the 2-stop rule included, but I think this season compared to season 1 will be playing it a little bit normal as one of the top teams, or hoping to be a top team into the next season. We then go to Catalonia, Canada, Austria, the right way around, before going to Silverstone in reverse, as I feel like we have some unfinished business with that layout of Silverstone after our crash out in Season 3. We then go from Spa to Monza, back to Baku, as that was a real good one in Season 3, and then this run-in, which I thought was pretty epic last season, of Brazil, Vegas, Qatar, and Abu Dhabi. And along with a slightly refreshed calendar, well, this team is about to get a major refresh. As you can see, we're yet to choose our engine supplier. You can see confirmation there of Leclerc and Tramnit's employment. Duotone will still be the major sponsor partner. But in terms of our power unit selection and partnership for this season and beyond, we're going for something completely new to Formula 1. We entered this sport with a Honda engine. We were with Mercedes for the last 2 years. But now, as the reigning Constructors' champions, we have attracted the interest from Porsche, who are entering Formula 1, and we will be partnering up with them to make it happen. An iconic German automotive brand to match our brand new German superstar, and equally the superstar power that Charles Leclerc's name brings was a massive aid to bringing Porsche into the foray. So we go through to confirm this, and it's now time to usher in a new era for this team, as we are now aarava Porsche Racing, and there's a little bit of a change around here that needs to be made. We will always remember our roots and our heritage with the Braun GP Jensen Button inspired fluoro yellow, white and black, but it is now time to don red, black and white for Porsche, as this partnership deal is not only for engine suppliers, but a true synergetic partnership where we are them and they are us. And with that comes a totally new looking livery for this season ahead, which I'm sure a lot of you will be very excited about. This is it. I introduce to you Season 4's aarava Porsche racing car, now with the black, red and white Porsche on the side pod. We have kept that gold star next to the aarava logo on the engine cover to celebrate our Constructors' Championship. Duotone is still the in-game title sponsor, so they still feature on the back of the rear wing and prominently on the front wing as they did last season. But the main part of this livery is the Porsche branding, the IRL Porsche sponsors like Tag Heuer, Boss, Puma, and a few others as well, whilst also still using the in-game decal editor to add a few subtle additions. But I think you'll hopefully agree, it's a very clean, slick livery, and one that is going to look pretty damn great with the number 1 on the car on Tramnit inside the garage, and the 16 of Leclerc, as here now is a first look at the all-new overalls as well. Some new boots with red accents. The gloves still with a fluoro line just to nod to the team's heritage, but I think you'll agree the boys look absolutely fantastic in the new threads, and this is confirmation that we have signed a 99 rated driver. We have signed the highest rating you can have in the game. I think the only person near to this at the moment on the grid is Max Verstappen at 98, but Leclerc, having won that championship in Season 2, did grow to 99 and has maintained that rating despite the difficult Season 3 for him at McLaren. But he's not going to need to worry about that anymore. He's in a great environment to thrive, hopefully, with this team. And finally, the last new aesthetic addition to the team are our two drivers' new helmets, both with the aarava logo on the sides. Is a, kind of a trademark design of joining the team, if you will. But with Leclerc, we've maintained a lot of the red and white Monaco themed on the front of his helmet, while still incorporating my logo there. there. And then, of course, we've got the Porsche badging on the front and the visor itself. And with Leclerc being an official driver, we've put the Tag Heuer logo on the front. We've not done that with Tramnit because being the F3 driver, all the decal editor sponsors, the fake sponsors, will actually be rendered on top of this helmet. So it doesn't make sense to put any other kind of sponsors on it because it'll just clash basically. But we made Tramnit a slightly new variant design, still incorporating the new gold star to denote his championship from last season. My logo is now in red to kind of match the Porsche colors, but he's still got some of that fluoro volt yellow to also nod to the colors he won his championship in. So that's our team, and before we move on to presenting the other teams on this grid, I just want to quickly talk to you guys about F1 PC modding, and specifically AMO Community, a team of PC F1 modders that I have been working with over the last few seasons, even years now, from last year's F1 game as well. These guys are a collective of awesome F1 modders with a official Discord, which I'll link down below in the description, and they are constantly making awesome new mods for the current F1 game and other F1 games, including F1 Manager, as well as they sponsored the work with the 25 DLC mod that you've seen me play plenty of times on the channel. One of their members, Kolar, actually made the 2009 mod that I played for a one-off video some time ago now, and I'm sure you'll recognize some of the mods you're seeing on screen right now that have been in my series, which are all made by Mark Felix, the guy running AMO, and you'll see coming up in this video 1 or 2 liveries made by other members in AMO. They are a fantastic group of guys making some excellent quality mods on the regular, so definitely if you're in the look of a way to spice up your F1 game, be it the EA F1 game or F1 Manager, or just even looking for whole season mods potentially, then look no further than the link down below in the description, and you will see the AMO logo on the side of this car and on the inside of the halo. With that then, let's get on to presenting your brand new grid of Formula 1 for Season 4 of this My Team series. Of course, we've gone through the lore, the context of this aarava Porsche racing team, now with 2 former world champions. Tramnit's the most recent and reigning champion going into this season, and the Season 2 champion of Charles Leclerc at 99 overall. I love this lineup. I think this is the strongest lineup we could have gone for. You know, obviously, I did try and go for Oscar Piastri. Tsunoda approached us, but I think with my options available, I felt the best about having these two alongside each other, and I think it's quite fitting to have Porsche come in whilst having a champion who is German, and then also Leclerc with that star power. I think it's a great makeup. But of course, the reason Leclerc was open to joining us was because his time at McLaren was such a misery. But now that he's left, that's opened up a seat at a team that did win some races at the end of last season. So there was a bit of a big wonder of who would fill the boots of an outgoing 99 rated Charles Leclerc. And quite amazingly, I did not see this one coming. Max Verstappen is the one to fill those boots. He has left Red Bull Ford, but it's not the Mercedes, it's not for Ferrari, it's for McLaren MasterCard Formula 1, as they're now known in Season 4. They have still got Daddy Stroll bankrolling them in the background to have Lance Stroll in the car somehow, but they have also paid the big bucks to get Max Verstappen, the 5-time world champion, having won the Season 1 championship, in their car for a new era for them as they go from red and white, that OKX livery they had last season, back to papaya orange, and with MasterCard as their new title sponsor. The only question is, can Verstappen pull them out of the horrendous form that they were showing for most of last season? only time will tell. And speaking of another team that are trying to stabilize their ship by staying with the same, is Scuderia Ferrari, who retain Alexander Albon at 93 rated and Esteban Ocon. This one I was quite surprised at. I felt like they probably would have changed one of their drivers, but no, surprisingly they've kept the same. Ferrari now donning their 2022 colors for the car and the overalls you might recognize as well, as they try and throw it back to the first year in this ground effect era to try and regain not only the aura from their 2022 car, but maybe some of that early season performance we saw in 2022 to try and once again challenge for a championship. I mean, they've got the pedigree on this game. They've won 2 Constructors' Championships, so they're no stranger to success actually in this game. So it's just a case of getting it over. So it's just a case of missing that final third as they did last season, as they were the closest team to us in the standings, but we were just too consistent for them. And whilst Ferrari is staying all the same effectively, there is massive change on the horizon for Aston Martin, who are no longer Aston Martin, but Aramco Honda. Honda and Aramco have jointly bought out Aston Martin from this team. It is now a Honda Works team, bankrolled by Aramco to be the main title partner and have a main say commercially with this team. But the Japanese outfit are now the ones running the show behind the scenes and for the technical side of this team. They have stayed with their lineup of Franco Colapinto and Liam Lawson because there's so much change going on within the team internally and with the car. They felt the need to stay with a stabilized driver partnership into this new era where they're now putting everything into it. Honda completely focused on this new Formula 1 program of theirs as a works team. And we saw at the end of last season, there were some real flashes of speed from Aston Martin. So now Aramco Honda, could they be the newest threat to the top line in Formula 1? We're going to have to see. Moving on to another team that's always tried to ruffle the feathers of the top teams in this series so far. It's Williams, and we've maintained the retro style livery that we gave Williams last season, as I saw a lot of you guys really enjoyed it and wanted it to stay for another season. So we have done just that, and they have stuck with their lineup of Yuki Tsunoda and Paul Aaron. Tsunoda now 90 rated, clearly the team leader. Paul Aaron growing into it, you know, he'll nearly be 80 rated. That's pretty damn good growth from him, I would say. And obviously Tsunoda wanted to leave this team, so what kind of, you know, relationship does he have with the higher ups? Is there a bit of destabilization within this British outfit? We're gonna have to see if that affects maybe his performance levels. I mean, his focus is still 93, but there surely is a reason Tsunoda wanted to leave Williams, or maybe he was just desperate to get into a championship car, and maybe that shows that Williams are still a little bit of ways off of really challenging for the upper echelons of this sport. And just like Williams, equally so, Haas will be retaining their livery from last season, which was the original OG 2016 color palette for the Haas team, with the grey, red, and even darker grey. But their lineup is very different, because now it's Isaac Hadjar, the latest podium sitter in Formula 1 IRL, now at the American outfit alongside Marty. Kimi Antonelli is no longer at Haas, and it breaks my heart a little bit to say somehow Antonelli has not found a seat on the grid. This is why I'm a bit confused that Ferrari didn't go for him. I felt like, you know, that was an obvious choice. But, you know, with the game having increased driver transfer settings, you know, it's up to the game to decide. I have no say in it. It's not like a few years ago where you could mod the transfers. The transfers we're seeing are fully by the game itself. And unfortunately, Antonelli has not found a seat. And George Russell, I can also tell you, has still also not found a seat, which is surprising because you've got also other seats opening up on this grid as we move to Audi, having scored championship points for the first time at the Las Vegas Grand Prix with Bortoleto. They have now got a new livery with some white, adding in a new era for Audi maybe as they try and build on scoring points last season. Nico Hulkenberg has retired from Formula One. That opened up a completely free seat, and I felt like it would have been maybe a great choice for an Antonelli, maybe even for a Russell to go to that team. But no, it's Jack Crawford instead. The American junior goes into the German team alongside Bortoleto, who is now the team leader, having grown to 82 rated. He was the one who scored the points for Audi, to be fair, so he deserves to be in a team leader role now, but it is an odd choice for Audi to go with Jack Crawford. But potentially also, remember, the AI teams also simulate money that they have, so maybe Audi simply just couldn't afford a driver like Russell, or even couldn't afford Antonelli. They're quite expensive drivers now in the market, so maybe Audi simply did not have the funds. And that's also maybe why a team like Ferrari didn't also have the funds to sign any of those guys, because they had spent so much money signing Ocon and Albon as two new drivers last season, potentially. It's a similar story for BMW, where they didn't score any points, and they probably just don't have the funds to do a lot in the driver market, as they have Zane Maloney and Nikolov Toslov alongside. So that's one of the other F3 driver icons now on the grid alongside Maloney. So Maloney was already at the team alongside Hadjar, but now has a junior to him. So very strangely, Maloney now is the senior. So this is a little bit of an odd pairing, and with an odd team, I guess, of BMW, but this was a takeover of what used to be there with VCarb. So in this sort of instance, it's difficult to really maybe have a cohesive, realistic story of why this would be the case for BMW. It's a case of in-game with the mechanics. It's just the way the driver market has gone, basically, for one of the smaller teams on the grid. It's going to be a case of BMW just desperate to get anyone in their car so they can carry on racing, and they're probably just spending most of their money on car development. Now, what is an interesting story is that Pierre Gasly has left Renault. You might remember he actually approached us in Season 2 about joining us, so it's not the first time he has flirted with the idea of leaving Renault, and this time he's actually gone and done it. So now that just leaves Jack Doohan as the team leader, narrowly higher rated than the incoming Zach O'Sullivan. So we've got a lot of new blood on the grid, a lot of inexperience on this F1 grid, which generally could mean a bit of chaos at, some trickier circuits, maybe like Monaco, where you really do need all the experience you can have and, that intelligence on track. So that's going to be one to watch, maybe in terms of some of the chaos at the back end of this grid. But Renault losing their strongest asset, and this is a massive fall from grace. This is the same team that was winning races at the end of Season 1, so it's a real testament and show of how far AI teams can fall in only a matter of seasons, where we've hardly talked about this team being a top contender since that first season. And Pierre Gasly has good reason to leave Renault, because he has been signed by the all-new looking Red Bull 4. This team has an all-new chassis with this new mod for Season 4. Oscar Piastri, 94 rated, now leading the team alongside a 91 rated Pierre Gasly, who's grown quite nicely despite being at the floundering Renault. And so now this has actually turned into a really interesting, strong partnership. Gasly getting his second chance at the top Red Bull team, and now without the pressure of Max Verstappen alongside him, maybe Gasly will flourish riding the bull once again, as they will continue to try and be there at the top of the grid. You can never count out Red Bull, especially on this game. They've always been there. It's just a case of, can they actually sustain a challenge? And also, to be fair to them, last season they had all the speed. It was really a lot of the luck and the engine issues for them as their Ford power unit was blowing up quite a fair few times for Max Verstappen, which is also probably another reason why Verstappen wanted to leave the team and go to someone else. So that's going to be a big question mark, is can Red Bull actually just deliver Piastri and Gasly a car that doesn't have like 4 engine failures in one single season, as we now finally end up on the Silver Arrows, who have donned a throwback livery of the silver to white German GP 2019 vibes, as it goes from white to silver at the front to the back end of the car. You've got the OG Mercedes stars on the engine cover, but they have retained their very strong on paper lineup of Lando Norris and Carlos Sainz. Carlando at a 97 and 93 rating. I actually think, arguably for me personally, I think Mercedes were actually the most impressive team last season outside of us, because they won those 2 races in a row for Lando Norris. Sainz then won later on in Brazil. And despite Ferrari being above them in the championship, I actually was more impressed by Mercedes' speed when they had those great races. So I think it's just a case of they need to get started earlier. That was the thing. Ferrari started off last season with a win. They were starting off with podiums, whereas Mercedes took so long to really get a foot in for this season. So that's going to be the real thing for them, is can they start stronger in season 4, and then they might have a chance to look a lot better on paper in the standings. So that's your full driver market lineup for this all new season, and just confirming to you then, we already mentioned it, George Russell, Antonelli free agents. Ollie Behrman unfortunately joins the driver market graveyard, I'm going to call it, as I feel like this is maybe an unintended problem that none of us could foresee at the start of the game, is having 3 such great high-rated drivers, 94 rated, 89 rated, 83 rated, but maybe they're, well, maybe in the case of Antonelli and Russell, like I said, they're just too expensive for other teams to sign. But Behrman was still pretty cheap, you know, 8 million for a very solid driver. So it's a bit unfortunate, but also that's kind of also what you get with, you know, a volatile driver market and the game deciding. I kind of just wish maybe the game would decide to keep some of the, you know, familiar names on the grid, and some of the choices that have been made have been a bit peculiar. But that's also the beauty of doing a career mode where you don't get to choose the transfers. The game does it. You just have to kind of accept what you get given, and we've been given a pretty crazy mixed up grid and order that could cause some issues in terms of that inexperience like I spoke about. But that is then the full pre-season episode for season 4. If you guys have enjoyed it, then be sure to hit the like button. Let me know what you make of the entire aarava Porsche racing makeup and setup for the new season. Until the first round episode, hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day. Goodbye.